Most men don't fail in love because they didn't care enough. They fail because they cared in ways that turned into fear. Because no one ever taught them how to handle the emotions that love awakens. You were told to be strong, to never cry, to suck it up. But now, you spiral when she pulls away. You panic at silence. You say things in anger you wish you could take back. Not because you're weak, but because you were never shown how to be emotionally strong. And if you don't learn, it's not just your heart that suffers. It's your peace, your presence, your power. This is where Stoicism comes in, not as a cold philosophy, but as a path to emotional clarity, to respond instead of react, to stay grounded when everything inside you wants to erupt, to love without losing yourself. Most men are never taught how to process emotion. From a young age, you're told to be strong, to be tough, to never cry, to never show weakness. And yet, when you carry all that emotion without tools to manage it, what happens? It leaks out in the worst ways. You get triggered by silence. You spiral when someone pulls away. You say things in anger you can't take back. You become reactive, defensive, insecure. And in love, that becomes a ticking time bomb. So many men fail in love not because they don't love enough, but because they don't know how to handle the emotions love brings up. And this is where Stoicism becomes a lifeline. Because Stoicism isn't about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally intelligent. It's about training your nervous system to stay calm under pressure, to pause instead of react, to observe instead of absorb, to choose your response instead of being hijacked by your past wounds. Let's talk about triggers, that feeling when something small sets off a massive reaction inside of you. Maybe she says something in a certain tone. Maybe she forgets to text back. Maybe she brings up your flaws. Suddenly, you're 10 years old again, rejected, ashamed, abandoned, and you lash out. Or you shut down. Or you try to over-explain. But none of those reactions are conscious. They're automatic. They're survival mechanisms you built when you didn't know better. And now they're sabotaging your relationships, because what looks like love to you might feel like control to her. What feels like intensity to you might feel like instability to her. She pulls back and you panic. She gets distant and you chase harder. She gives you feedback and you hear judgment. Not because she's wrong, but because your unhealed emotions are speaking louder than reality. This is why emotional discipline is non-negotiable. If you want to succeed in love, you must learn to feel everything without being ruled by anything. You must build space between emotion and action. That space is where your power lives. That space is what Stoicism trains. So how do you do it? Start with awareness. Every time you feel a spike of emotion, pause. Don't react. Ask yourself, what's really going on here? Is this about the present moment or about an old story I'm still carrying? Write it down. Reflect on it. Journal until it's no longer blurry, because unprocessed emotion will always bleed into the people closest to you, not because you mean to hurt them, but because you haven't yet healed you. Then choose discipline. When emotion rises, choose breath before reaction. Choose silence before explanation. Choose presence before defense. You don't need to respond to every trigger. Sometimes the strongest move is to sit with the discomfort until it passes. Cause it will pass. But if you react to every emotional wave, you will drown in your own mind. Women are not looking for perfection. They're looking for presence, for steadiness, for a man who can hold space for emotion without collapsing into it, who can listen without trying to fix, who can lead himself even when feelings run high. That's rare. That's powerful. And it's built through repetition, through practice, through choices made daily. The Stoic doesn't suppress emotion. He channels it. He uses it as information. Anger tells him where a boundary was crossed. Fear tells him where growth is needed. Sadness tells him where something valuable was lost. But he doesn't become the anger. He doesn't become the fear. He doesn't become the sadness. He remains himself, rooted, clear, centered. Imagine this. You're having a disagreement. She raises her voice. Old patterns tell you to raise yours louder, to win, to dominate. But the Stoic within you takes a breath, stays quiet, feels the anger but doesn't act on it. Asks, is this about her tone or about the way my father used to yell? That question shifts everything. Suddenly, you're no longer reacting. You're investigating. You're leading. And that changes the energy. Over time, you become emotionally safer, not just to others, but to yourself. You stop being afraid of your own reactions. You start trusting your ability to feel deeply and still choose wisely. That trust builds confidence. That confidence builds attraction. That attraction is sustainable because it's not based on performance. It's based on presence. You begin to love differently, not with fear of loss, but with clarity of purpose, not with control, but with curiosity, not with insecurity, but with inner calm. And when conflict arises, and it will, you don't run, you don't explode, you engage with grace, with logic, with steadiness, because the emotionally grounded man doesn't avoid problems. He becomes the solution, not by fixing her, but by leading himself, by owning his triggers, by regulating his state. That's the real flex, not the guy who never feels, but the one who feels fully and remains free. If you've been failing in love, it's not because you're broken. It's because you've been trying to love from a place of fear, of reaction, of old stories, of emotional chaos. The good news is, that can change. Today, now with one breath, one pause, one honest reflection, then another, until new patterns form, new strength builds, new clarity emerges. This is the inner work, the real work, the daily work of becoming a man who leads with calm instead of chaos, who chooses reflection over reaction, who can sit with discomfort without projecting it, who builds connection, not through control, but through consistency. And when you become that man, love stops being war. It becomes peace, not because it's perfect, but because you've become prepared to face emotion without fear, prepared to love without losing yourself, prepared to lead with clarity, no matter what storms come. That's Stoicism. That's emotional strength. That's the foundation of lasting love. So, if this message struck something in you, if you saw yourself in these words, don't let it be just another video you watched and forgot. Let it be the line in the sand. The moment you decided, I'm done reacting. I'm done chasing. I'm done living from wounds I didn't cause. But I can damn sure choose to heal. You don't have to be perfect to be powerful. You just have to be present. You don't have to know every answer. But you do have to ask better questions. You don't need to fix her. You need to lead you. And when you do, everything changes. So, here's your challenge. Tomorrow morning, take 10 minutes. Sit in silence. Journal your emotional triggers. Write down the last time you lost control and why. Ask yourself, was I leading in that moment or was I leaking? And then decide who you want to be moving forward. Not for her, not for applause, but for you, for the man in the mirror, for the peace you haven't felt in years. That peace is possible, but it's earned, not in grand gestures, but in small, quiet, disciplined choices that you repeat daily. And if this video spoke to you, don't just keep it to yourself. Hit that subscribe button. Not for the algorithm, but for the commitment. Because Stoic Reign isn't just a channel, it's a mission. A brotherhood of men choosing power over panic, clarity over chaos, and emotional control over emotional collapse. Leave a comment below with one trigger you're ready to face, Or just drop a sword emoji if you're ready to do the work. I read every single one. And remember this: the man who controls his mind controls his life. The man who leads himself never has to beg to be followed. The man who pauses becomes unstoppable. So choose the pause, choose the path, choose the peace. Welcome to Stoic Reign. Let's build something unshakable together.